Florida Division of Emergency Management. Larry Keefe, Immigration Executive Director in Florida. General John Haas, Florida National Guard. Department of Corrections Secretary Ricky Dixon. Baker County Sheriff Scotty Roden. Bradford County Sheriff Gordon Smith. St. Johns County Sheriff Rob Hardwick. And Union County Sheriff Brad Whitehead. We had put out, there is a storm in the Atlantic. Every model has it turning and not impacting Florida or maybe even the continental U.S., depending on when it turns. We always watch these things. I'm always talking with Kevin about it. If there's anything that changes, obviously we'll be ready. But we've been watching it now for several days, and most of the models are in an agreement. Looks like it may be more of a threat for Bermuda than for certainly Florida, and it may not even impact any continental U.S. Maybe it'll do North Carolina, some of those places they get up. We'll see what happens. But we're ready to respond if that is the case. We're here today at this Baker County Correctional Facility because we're taking yet another step in supporting the important mission that President Trump was elected to implement of securing the border, enforcing immigration laws, and removing illegal aliens who are in our society now and sending them back to their home country. We have done more on this than any other state by a country mile. We're the only state in the country that requires all state and local law enforcement agencies to participate in ICE operations. We have that as a requirement of our state law based on the legislation that I pushed for earlier this year. Jay Collins, as a state senator, was with us fighting against attempts to impose sanctuary policies in Florida. Thankfully, that didn't end up happening, and we got very strong immigration enforcement legislation. Now, we've been at this for a long time, banning sanctuary cities early in my term. When Biden came in and opened the border, we sent people down to Texas at the border there to help them. When there were gaps in the maritime interdiction, we launched Operation Vigilant Sentry. They've interdicted 18,000 illegal aliens at sea, just us, not even including all the many more that the Coast Guard has gotten, and we're able to repatriate them to their home countries. We've also had transport programs, send to New York, send to California, and even send to Martha's Vineyard. And these are sanctuary jurisdictions. They like to squawk about having more illegal immigration in their communities, and yet when they're faced with it, a lot of times they get upset that they're having to deal with it. We do not provide benefits like identification cards, driver's license, and then even under my tenure, we repealed the in-state tuition for illegals that had been put in last decade, and that was something that the legislature stepped up and did, so I appreciate them doing that. So as we got into this, we were the first state to do any 287G agreements with our state agencies back in January. We've been working hard. We're on these task force with DHS and with ICE. A lot of illegal aliens can get rounded up. I mean, that's just the nature of the problem because you've had so many come in. We know in Florida there's anywhere from 50 to 100,000 that already have final orders of removal. So they're in our country illegally. They've already gone through the process and they've been ordered to be removed, and yet nothing had happened. So we're very keenly aware of that and working to correct that. So these 287G agreements formalize these relationships and allow us to conduct immigration enforcement operations. I mean, think about the Highway Patrol. When Biden was in, you could have an illegal alien driving drunk on the highway. And, you know, we have Rep. Michaels here. Her son was killed by a previously deported illegal alien that rammed into her son on the roadways. And so this has massive consequences for our citizens. So you'll have that, and our guys would pull over, and they would do their normal thing. But if someone who didn't have a proper license was here illegally, you would call ICE under Biden, and ICE would basically not respond, or they wouldn't come and get these people. And so you're faced with this situation. They weren't authorized to bring them to ICE under federal law at the time. And so it was really frustrating. Now they're authorized to conduct immigration enforcement action. So our highway patrol in that situation, they see this person's violated traffic laws, they're here illegally, they bring them directly to ICE and they get processed and the law gets enforced. So it's really been a sea change since the Trump administration came to power in January. And so we've been doing these things. But the one thing that DHS kept telling us is, you know, you're apprehending illegal aliens faster than we can hold, process, and deport them. And they didn't have space. And so that was the genesis of us doing Alligator Alcatraz down in South Florida. This was an airport that actually is used. It's used for a lot of training. But when they first built it, they actually had these visions of creating like the biggest airport that anyone, and that didn't end up happening. So you've got 2 miles of runway, you've got all this stuff that you need, and we were able to stand up this detainee processing and deportation facility in record time. So you've had now many, many hundreds that have already been processed out and that have been flown out of there, and they're doing more and more every day. And that facility can hold thousands of illegal aliens. So that was being done. We also said, you know, we have the ability to do more than that. DHS, in their agreement with us, because they're reimbursing these expenses, they anticipate up to 5,000. So we said, you know, you're going to probably need a different facility if you want to do that many. And I had mentioned publicly about using Camp Blanding in Northeast Florida. And there was a lot to recommend to it. It was close to Cecil Field, so you could run flights out of there pretty quickly. Blanding does have air capacity, but probably not a big enough runway to handle large planes. And ultimately, you know, you want to get 200 illegal aliens on a plane and fly them back to their home country. I mean, so you do need bigger planes. So we were looking at doing that. What would the build out look like? And I said, I'm prepared to move forward once I know we have a demand signal that this is going to be used and used very quickly. And so we have reached that point where I'm confident that we need additional capacity beyond what we're already doing down in South Florida. And so I've been working with Kevin Guthrie to authorize and to stand up a new facility. And of course, we were going to initially focus on Camp Blanding. However, as we started looking around and as Kevin was doing his due diligence, you know, there's a massive part here at Baker Correctional that is vacant, that isn't being used for any state correction activity. And so this, you talk about ready-made infrastructure, this was something that was very appealing from that perspective because it would require us to do a lot less in standing up than we would at Blanding and far less than we had to do at Alligator Alcatraz. Now, Alligator Alcatraz has the runway right there. That's a one-stop shop. I don't think you get any more convenient than simply carting people, you know, 2,000 feet away and get them on a plane, and then that's it. But here at Baker Correctional, we're right down the road from Lake City Airport. And so that is something that is good. That's something that's going to make a difference. So I'm here to announce today that we are authorizing and will be soon opening this new illegal immigration detention, processing, and deportation facility here in North Florida. We are calling this the Deportation Depot. It is going to be located here at Baker Correctional Institute. And again, the reason of this is not to just house people indefinitely. We want to process, stage, and then return illegal aliens to their home country. That is the name of the game. And that's what we do in Florida. We know that this is an important national priority, not only of President Trump, but of the American people. Of all the issues in the election, I can tell you this immigration and border issue was either the top or right near the top on all people's minds. And so we have identified this location. It'll be able to hold more than 1,300 illegal alien detainees. You will have the same services that you have at Alligator Alcatraz. Costs will be reimbursed by our federal partners. And as I mentioned, Lake City Airport's just right down the road. It's 15 minutes away. This is something that the Division of Emergency Management worked very quickly on. This will be operational soon. It's not going to take forever, but we're also not rushing to do it right this day. They're doing what they need to do to get it done in all deliberate speed. So I'm proud of them for their work. Florida's making a difference. This is a priority for the people of our state. It's a priority for the people of this country. And I don't want to see any more angel moms in Florida like Cayenne who lost a loved one because the laws weren't being enforced. We have an administration that's committed to doing that in Washington, and no state has done more to support that effort than we have in the state of Florida. Now, we're going to hear from a number of folks. One guy I'd like to bring up now, we just had an event in Tampa on Tuesday there at the Team House. A lot of retired Green Berets were there to celebrate the appointment of one of their own as Florida's lieutenant governor. Florida is now the only state in the country where both the governor and the lieutenant governor are military veterans. I mean, probably 50, 60 years ago, it would have been hard to find a state that didn't have that. Times have changed. But Jay Collins served for 23 years. He was a Green Beret involved in special forces. He was wounded in action, eventually lost one of his legs, and had the opportunity to retire with a medical discharge, medical retirement. But he re-upped and served with a prosthetic leg for additional 5 years as a Green Beret. That's not something that's normal. He's also, in his private capacity, been involved in disaster response through his OBR group. And when we have hurricanes, he's there immediately providing sustenance to displaced residents, first responders, and has been very strong in terms of those operations. He was a state senator for a number of years and was responsible for really key policies like our legislation to ban China from purchasing farmland or any land in the state of Florida, supporting the bill that we did in immigration to really hold illegal aliens accountable and help the federal government with deportations. Been a strong advocate for veterans, and it's just been an incredibly productive elected official. And then you have things like the Israel-Iran conflict, the 12-day war, and we had Floridians over there, and as we do, we step up. People needed a way out of Israel. The airport was closed. There were rockets and ballistic missiles raining down. And so I authorized, and Kevin Guthrie implemented rescue missions to be able, and we brought thousands of people out of Israel. We had many, many hundreds that were brought back on flights that we arranged for them, mostly out of Cyprus. And that was great, and people really appreciate it. Jay Collins, as a state senator, he wasn't just showing up at a press conference with me, rah-rah. He was in Israel. He was in Jordan. He was physically working to bring people to safety, and I know he saved many lives in the process of doing that. And so he's an expeditionary lieutenant governor, and I refer to him as the Chuck Norris of Florida politics because he just gets it done. So I want him to come up and say a few words now that he has officially been put in as lieutenant governor.
Thank you, Governor. Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here today. I want to kick this off by recognizing a few of the people to our left and right behind us. Cayenne, nothing can return your son. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for standing and doing the right thing and fighting to make sure this doesn't happen to other families. You're incredible. To our sheriffs, we are so blessed to have people who follow and understand that law matters. Holding people accountable matters. And to our sheriffs, you're heroes in the community. Thank you for what you do. Secretaries Dixon and Guthrie, thank you. Absolutely incredible. Their leadership, their focus on getting things done, on deeds, not words, is impeccable. And Larry, Mr. O'Keefe, thank you. Thankful for what you do. But together, one thing I learned in the military is teamwork makes the dream work, right? You look at the people behind us, You have strong, conservative, bold, action-focused leadership from Governor DeSantis. It's easy to stand on the sideline and do nothing. It's really hard to step up and make sure that the right things happen. But that's what we do in Florida. You heard the governor talk about our 287G. We've led on that. Not only are we doing things to get it done, we're leading the nation. We have partnered with the President of the United States, with the White House, with anybody and everybody who is serious about getting things done and getting illegal immigrants out of our nation and out of our country, because that's what Florida does. You see, when Florida leads, America wins, and we take our job seriously. One of the things we have to acknowledge is that there are no sidelines. Every state is a border state, and I'm grateful to have a governor who stood up and led and set an example for others to follow behind. It's time that other states continue to push forward and press forward. You heard the governor talk about it. There was a mandate to the president to step up and take this illegal immigration problem seriously and solve this. Our citizens are scared. They're concerned about what are we going to leave our children, and there is no greater task due me as a dad, as a husband, as a lieutenant governor, and as a leader in this state and this nation than making sure that our people are protected and we protect and preserve those things we love for the next generation. And that is exactly what we do. And I want to leave you with this. If we don't stand up and fight to uphold our laws and hold people accountable and make sure that those who don't care about our laws, who don't care about citizens' welfare and lives, are held accountable, what does that say about our leadership? What would that say about us? And here in Florida, we will never play that game. We will never be a day late or a dollar short, and we will always lead from the front. That is how we do things under Governor DeSantis' leadership, and that is exactly what we're going to continue to do. Governor, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So this will really, I think, meet a need that is there. And I initially, when we did Alligator Alcatraz, and the plans that we had presented to DHS, it obviously anticipated additional facilities, one facility, maybe even more, because we could probably do more. And people are like, well, when are you going to open? Are you going to open Blanding? And I said, listen, I want to make sure the demand's there. And the demand is there. And they are ramping up the flights, and that cadence is getting better. And there's even going to be more things that happen on the removal front in the coming weeks and months, I'm confident of. So this is definitely the right decision to do. We are going to be able to fulfill this, utilize these resources. The demand is there, and our guys are ready, willing, and able to help our federal partners in this really, really important mission. I would also note that since the opening of Alligator Alcatraz, we have seen an increase in the number of illegal aliens who are taking the voluntary departure, where they can get a plane ticket, and obviously they're going to be supervised to get on that plane so we can ensure they're doing it, but they get on and they get a flight back to their home country. And I think it's just the fact that people say, okay, I know the law is going to be enforced. If they're not consistent with the law, they know that they could potentially be subject to it. And so why not just preempt that and just do the right thing? So I think you're seeing more and more of that, and we'll probably continue to see more going forward. So this is great. And just, I'm going to bring up Kevin Guthrie, who'll talk a little bit more about some of this stuff in a minute, but the amount that we've been approved for reimbursement between Alligator Alcatraz and this, we will be able to conduct these operations, and we will come in under what we've been allotted for reimbursement. In fact, setting up here at Baker, because we have so much existing infrastructure, it's about a $6 million build out. That would have been a lot more at Blanding, and obviously it was more at Alligator Alcatraz. So this really makes sense. Logistically, it makes sense. Even though we're getting reimbursed, you could spend $100 million, $6 million. We would get reimbursed from the state of Florida, but still, we want to be as cost effective as possible. So I think it's really, really good. So I'll bring up Kevin to be able to say a little bit more about this.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you, Secretary Dixon, Larry Keefe, and Major General John Haas for your support. Again, my name is Kevin Guthrie. I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management, and from day one, Governor DeSantis has set a clear message, and that is illegal immigration has no place in the state of Florida. Today, the state of Florida, through the collaboration of state and private partners, many of those behind me today, are proud to announce our second illegal immigration detention facility, also known as the Deportation Depot. The opening of this second facility symbolizes the successful endeavors of our southern facility and our commitment to detaining illegal immigrants across the state. This facility will act as a north-based site that will support the governor's mission to keep Florida a law and order state and to ensure that Florida families remain safe. The logistics here: Baker County Correctional Institute is obviously a facility that is vacant today. It has a capacity of 1,310 detainees. We do have the ability to flex that with some temporary dormitories up to about 2,000. There are 7 different dorms on site today, ranging from 150 to 258 beds. There is a special housing unit here. It is surrounded by 12 foot of chain link fence with razor ribbon wire. The services that will happen here will, again, just as they are in South Florida, meet or exceed the federal or state detention standard. They will have 3 meals a day. They will have 24/7 medical facility and pharmacy. They will have access to indoor and outdoor rec yards. They will have access to legal and clergy support services. They will have laundry. Again, they will have everything that is required under federal or state law for a detention facility. This facility is a permanent, pre-existing structure, meaning that our teams can get in here, get it operational quickly, efficiently, and without delay. It is also, again, a permanent structure, meaning that we will not have to look for temporary permits or things like this. We will move into existing infrastructure. Florida knows how to deliver when it matters most, and we are here to prove that once again. From hurricanes to severe weather to large-scale evacuations, even international evacuations, and Lieutenant Governor, thank you for your leadership and your work on helping us evacuate individuals from Israel. We have earned a reputation for being prepared, moving fast, managing complex logistics like nobody else. Our focus is clear: uphold the law, remain mission-driven, deliver real results for the people of Florida. With the Governor and Lieutenant Governor's dedication to law and order, we've been able to act decisively, expanding our operations northward with this second facility. Again, I want to thank you all for being here today. Florida sets the standard, excelling not only in emergency response, but in readiness and operational performance across the board. Thank you to Governor DeSantis. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for your unwavering leadership and commitment to making our state stronger and safer.
Good afternoon. I'm Larry Keefe. Just a few weeks ago, President Trump, Secretary Noem, and the highest leadership in the federal part of this country came to Alligator Alcatraz, sat down at a round table, and declared to the world that the state of Florida is by far, by any measure, the best and most effective partner the federal government has in the United States of America in the mass deportation mission. At that same sit-down down at Alligator Alcatraz, the President and Secretary Noem complimented and recognized our Governor, our Attorney General James Uthmeyer, and this man right here, Kevin Guthrie, for their vision and understanding what needed to be done to set the standard for what a state does to help the federal government achieve the mass deportation mission. In addition to the vision, they complimented them on the thoughtfulness, the thinking, the strategic mindset of once you have a vision that the feds cannot do this alone, that they need force multipliers, and they need the states to step up. The states themselves can't wait for direction on how to do that, and didn't wait for direction on how to do that under Governor DeSantis' leadership. We stepped up, and we went through the thought process of figuring out how that would actually be done. How will we help our federal partners? We had vision, we had thought, and then there was the signature Governor DeSantis action and results and speed and a sense of urgency. And we did all of those things. And Alligator Alcatraz is just but one of many examples of that coming into reality, all generated and done under Governor DeSantis' leadership. Vision, thought, action, and results. But the last thing that I want to talk about that was a factor in the compliments from the President and Secretary Noem was resolve. There are always headwinds when you're doing new, novel, complex, difficult things. It's not off the shelf. It's not paint by the numbers. It's not easy. is resolve, and that is a hallmark of Governor DeSantis and everyone who works for him, is that we are going to run into headwinds. The stuff that we do is national level, complex, complicated stuff, and so resolve is key. And one thing I know for certain about President Trump, he knows how to spot talent. He knows how to spot people that not only are smart and have great ideas, but work hard, execute, get results, and have resolve when they run into resistance or headwinds. So with all of that, Florida is and has become, and just as the governor said, is the best. They set the way, they set the standard. We even wrote kind of a manual on how to do it that is called the Florida Blueprint 1.0. And I can assure you that Florida Blueprint 2.0 is underway. But the other thing that the President and Secretary Noem said at that Alligator Alcatraz event a few weeks ago, in addition to praising Florida and complimenting Florida, they said, the President and Secretary said, they challenged the other states and they said, you need to adopt Florida's blueprint. You need to do what Florida does. And the expression that they kept using was, you need to step up and be like Florida. And we're hard at work at that. And that mission is ongoing. This is just another example of that, what is happening here today. But my real central message today is on this resolve piece. Because this process, even though it's only 6 or 7 months into it, is hitting the stage, hitting the part where the opposition, the obstructors, the people that don't want it to be successful, are going to their primary playbook, which is well-funded, well-organized lawyers who weaponize courts, who use lawfare and judicial weaponization to then attack and thwart and obstruct the will of the people, the mandate that the voters gave the president, the mandate from the entire state of Florida. On the special session, the governor had the vision to convene to give us the authorities and resources we need to fight this fight. That right now is under attack with this weaponized judiciary, with the leftist lawyers. And at the same time, there is the legacy media distorting the facts, telling lies, twisting and distorting information, working in what appears to be a very closely coordinated effort with the activist lawyers, the media, and then you have the riots like we saw in California that will not happen here because of him and the people behind me. The coordinated rent-a-riot. Suddenly people pop up and appear. They want to shut down the streets in your cities. The media is amplifying it right out of Hollywood. And then you got running to the courts, unelected courts, activist lawyers, and you see that. Then we saw even more acute things and more criminal things, the doxing and the harassment of the federal law enforcement officers and their families who live here in the state and in other states just doing their job to enforce the law, and we're dealing with that. So this very well coordinated effort where they couldn't win at the ballot box, they couldn't win at the election, so they're using these unconventional means, unconventional methods, familiar terms, Lieutenant Governor, to basically fight this battle to thwart the will of Floridians and the American people. But you need to know that resolve piece applies here. We can, under Governor DeSantis' leadership, do our jobs, stay focused on the mission, mass deportation, be the best state, and then be able to come up with Blueprint 2.0, 3.0, help, assist, train, sound familiar, Lieutenant Governor, to go out in an expeditionary way, as the governor described, the lieutenant governor, and help these other states adopt and do what we do in Florida. It's that resolve. These people have that talent. And I can go through real quickly the people right here next to me. Governor DeSantis, if you want to look up the word resolve in the dictionary, you will see his picture. General Haas, a classically slain general officer soldier who has done it, been to war, strategic planning, all of those things. He knows how to fight a fight and deal with distractions, shiny objects, and things that are designed to distract him from the mission. Kevin Guthrie knows how to conduct the mission. He's been around a long time, not his first rodeo, can deal with distractions of these peripheral flank attacks. But the thing I'm most excited about today, with all due respect, Governor, is we've got a Green Beret on our team now. And if you know anything about Green Berets, this is their classic mission, dealing with this kind of guerrilla, asymmetrical side attack, flank attacks, staying focused on the mission, going and training and teaching the other states. Because in the end, history shows us that at the end of the day, if you have resolve, it is resolve that fundamentally always wins in the end if you keep your eye on the ball and if your cause is just. And we can never forget restoring our national sovereignty, securing our border, and enforcing the rule of law with illegal immigration is what it's all about. Thank you.
Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Director Guthrie, Director Keefe, Secretary Dixon, thank you. At the Governor's direction and in coordination with the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida National Guard continues to provide a vital role in securing our state and protecting our citizens by supporting state and federal immigration enforcement efforts. Under Operation Vigilant Sentry, a joint interagency border security operation, the Florida National Guard supports both aviation and ground enforcement missions. Our aviation units, working closely with federal and state as well as local law enforcement agencies, conduct daily aerial surveillance and deterrence operations off Florida's southern coast, resulting in the detention of over 450 migrants and identifying over 130 vessels. To date, our flight crews, our aircraft, have logged over 4,200 flight hours and conducted 2,000 sorties. On the ground, our guardsmen have been instrumental in supporting immigration enforcement, transporting over 3,000 detainees, providing security at 7 ICE facilities across the state, and conducting perimeter security and entry control at the Alligator Alcatraz facility in Miami-Dade County. Under Title 32 authority, this month, the Florida National Guard will activate 200 additional guardsmen to provide increased administrative and logistic support at 10 ICE facilities across Florida. Our guardsmen, all volunteers, are prepared to continue their critical enforcement efforts, as well as support emerging requirements here in Baker County and other locations across the state as directed by the Governor. The Florida National Guard remains steadfast in its commitment to safeguarding our citizens and securing our great state. I thank Governor DeSantis for his leadership and our law enforcement partners and fellow agency heads for their support and continued collaboration. Thank you. Florida first.
Okay, so we said we were going to act. We are acting. There'll be more news to come out about the deportation depot here in Baker County very soon, but this will meet a very critical need to have even more space than what we have at Alligator Alcatraz. And I think that's it just shows our guys are really working hard with DHS, and they're getting the job done and protecting people in their communities. Okay, I think we're gonna just head over here. Is that what you want to do? Okay, thanks guys. Thanks gentlemen.